Hey everybody, it's Tony George along with Arun Shiva. That is Indian Cowboy, DocSports.com. And there's a game going on next Sunday I think everybody wants to talk about, Arun, and that is the Super Bowl. And my hometown, Kansas City Chiefs, have made it. And of course, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And before we get to it, we're going to talk about last week's championship games real quick, just in review and your thoughts. Obviously, this line opened up at 3.5 and 57.5, and that was in favor of Kansas City, who has a Week 12 27-24 win over Tampa Bay. And now the line sits at -3 and 56.5, which surprises me a little bit on the line movement on the under, but we can talk about that in a minute. I guess last week, my first question to you would be, Arun, who had the most impressive victory, Kansas City or Tampa Bay in your mind?
Well, you're asking about Tampa Bay going on the road to beat Green Bay, or you're talking about Kansas City beating a red-hot Buffalo Bills team. And I actually think that Tampa Bay's victory was really impressive. The Bills are good, no doubt about it, but the Bills have never been there before, and the Bills don't have a running game. But if you're the Green Bay Packers and you have arguably the best wide receiver in the league, right, Devontae Adams, and you have the best running back in the league, and you still lose, and you have massive revenge because you got destroyed by the same Tampa Bay team earlier this year, and you have Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day in the prime at the end of his career trying to get over the hill. I mean, what a wasted opportunity. You know what I mean? The fact that Tampa Bay went on the road, at the end of the day, Kansas City was expected to kind of do what they did, you know what I mean, just with all the talent that they have. But Tampa Bay wasn't expected like this. I mean, for an entire team to come together. And you know what's weird, Tony? That defense always plays up for big games. Tampa Bay was awesome against New Orleans both times. They beat two teams that, Tampa Bay's defense always shows up in big games so far this year. I mean, except for that one home game against New Orleans where they laid a dud. They went on the road to beat New Orleans, and now they go on the road to beat Green Bay. Pretty impressive stuff. I mean, and they came together all in 1 year.
Yeah, I was impressed the way they went up there and got the job done. I was not impressed with numerous things that went on with Green Bay. Number one is some coaching calls, especially on the defensive side of the ball into the first half. You put three guys back deep and you say, whatever you do not let anybody get behind you. And that just completely fell on deaf ears, both with the coaching staff and the team. And then, of course, Aaron Rodgers on the third down and goal there around the 10-yard line. He had an open lane to run it down to the 2 or 3 yard line, perhaps get it in. If it was a Mahomes or an Allen, they probably would have ran it in. But at the end of the day, and give yourself a manageable 4th down and 2, 4th down and 3, where you limit your options. I don't have a problem. I mean, the way the defense was playing, as much pressure as they were getting on Rodgers there, I thought that, the coach probably said, look, we got to kick it and take our chances, because the chances of us getting a 4th and goal at the 10 line is going to be slim or none. Let's put 3 up there and see if we can, now do something on defense, which Brady was kind of having his way, hitting them with a lot of big plays. I thought some of the coaching was to blame for Green Bay's loss. Obviously, execution, in coverage downfield wasn't there, and the defensive line was just way too much of a mismatch for Green Bay's offensive line. So, on the coin, go ahead.
And that snapshot, man, you pointed out, I think is absolutely fantastic, because when he had that chance to run in, that's the difference between Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. And that's the difference between Tom Brady and Josh Allen. That's the difference between the old quarterbacks and the new quarterbacks, because these guys are going to run and they're going to get it. And these older quarterbacks just cannot extend the play. They're going to try to fit it into a tight window, which is still really hard to do. Whereas the younger quarterbacks are going to get it. Unless you're an older quarterback like Doug Flutie, who's going to sacrifice his body, these other guys aren't going to. Drew Brees wouldn't have done it either. So Drew Brees wouldn't have done it. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have done it. And that's the reason why Drew Brees has been terrible in the playoffs the last 3 years. That's the reason why Green Bay cannot advance. These guys won't take that hit.
Well, and on the other side of the ball, other side of the equation was Kansas City completely dominating. Obviously,
Yeah,
Green Bay was favored points than Kansas, and that's a bit shocking. And I didn't know what to expect out of Kansas City's defense. We talked about it last week that their defense steps up in the postseason, and they did it again. They couldn't get the job done in the red zone. You could not go into Arrowhead Stadium and kick field goals and beat Kansas City. Not when they are wired tight and ready to go and they have their A game and they're ready to bring it. The big question mark was Mahomes with the toe, any lingering effects of the neck injury / concussion. That was out the window pretty much right out of the gate. And the one thing, again, that impressed me about Kansas City, and everybody's going to say I'm a homer, but I bet against Kansas City more times than I bet with them this year. But the one thing that, again, they proved, down 9-0, no big deal. 5 minutes later on the clock, they're up 5. That's Kansas City. That's how fast they can strike. They've got, I mean, we were sitting there at a local watering hole watching the game, me and some buddies, and all these guys are in. These guys are bettors, one of them professional bettors. And he looked at me in the third quarter and goes, "Who's going to beat them? How can you cover them all?" And really, at the end, Kansas City has so many weapons, and they're only going to get healthier with some of those weapons. However, we have the big question mark here on the offensive line that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I thought Kansas City dominated that football game, and I thought the spotlight was too big for Josh Allen. You know, and it's a great learning experience. Buffalo is a very good football team. Kansas City dominated a very good football team, and the hottest team in the NFL. I mean, nobody was coming close to them. I fluttered a little bit and showed their ass a little bit against Baltimore, only scoring 10 points offensively. And I think Spagnuolo took a look at that and say, what'd they do? And I thought Kansas City did a nice job. You're not going to contain Josh Allen running the football. You're not going to stop him running the football, but Kansas City gave him a couple of big ones. But other than that, they contained him. And like you said, they had no running game now. So I was impressed with Kansas City as much as I was with Tampa Bay. I would give the lean to Kansas City just because Buffalo was so hot, and you heard so much during the week about how Buffalo was going to go in there and upset them, and they didn't have anything to do with it.
yeah, no.
Now we take a look at this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. My 7 unit was on the Chiefs because I cannot go against the Chiefs. You know what I mean? I just figured that Buffalo was going to play, and that game against Baltimore, they got lucky. They got lucky from the 101-yard touchdown return back, et cetera. But I just want to point out 2 things. One, Kansas City is the best team situationally in the league, which means anytime when they're down big, they have certain plays drawn up. They have big plays drawn up. Like if we're down 2 possessions or if we're down by more than 1 possession, we're going to draw this play up and this play up. And that's why they're able to come back against anybody. So I think Kansas City actually wants to be down early because I don't know what happens from the Super Bowl to every game. They just come storming back. There's just something about this team's gene pool that if they get down early, they play so much better than if they get up early. I will say this about Buffalo. They're going to go shopping for a good running back, and it's going to make them better. I think they're a running back and an offensive lineman away from doing some serious good things. And Josh Allen certainly has the traits, I think, to win a Super Bowl. That he never gave up. They never laid down. They kept coming. They kept coming. And I think there's finally someone in the AFC. It's not Lamar Jackson. There's no other quarter. And I don't even think it's really Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is too much of a game manager. I think the only quarterback in the AFC that can really compete against Mahomes in the future is obviously Russell Wilson's in the NFC. But I think the only quarterback that can really compete against Mahomes is going to be Josh Allen in the AFC. I think he's every bit as good as Mahomes, maybe a slight drop off, but he's got so much. I think Mahomes is topped off. And I think Allen is just getting on the precipice. I think he's learning more and more. He's a baller. I was really impressed. I didn't think he was this good at all coming out of college.
Well, I won a lot of money on him when he was at Wyoming, and he was one of the best kept secrets out there. Another quarterback that's currently in the AFC that might see I would put in that category is just because he has all the tools physically playing quarterback to have kind of the skill set that Mahomes has. However, doesn't have near the weapons around him, especially when they got rid of Bernard Hopkins. I mean, that was that cost Bill O'Brien his job at the end of the day. But, let's get to this game here now. One thing that you had said earlier in the year that I paid attention to, and one thing that did come to fruition, you had said that Brady had so many weapons and they were brand new in this system that he just didn't know how to disperse the ball and utilize everything to maximum potential. That was going to come, and that had come to fruition during the season. So he has hit and hit big. Now Patrick Mahomes has multiple weapons. I think he has the best tight end in the league. I think he has the best wide receiver in the league in Hill. And by the way, Hill went for 203 yards against Tampa Bay in Week 12. He had a 75 and a 44-yard big play catches, end up with 200 and some yards. And Mahomes had like 426 throwing the ball against him. And that was a game, by the way, that Kansas City basically dominated. Though the score was 27-24, they had a 20-7 halftime lead. They were up 27-10 late in the third. And at the end of the day, late in the game, they got kind of a guard either big play Evans and then down like just one in there to Evans. But Kansas City dominated that game for basically little over three quarters against Tampa Bay. And so you have that going on. So I guess it comes down to a big question mark for Kansas City. And I want to get your assessment on this, Arun. Fisher is out at offensive tackle. He's one of the best in the NFL. This guy was the number one guy taken in the draft. I think he's Central Michigan, not mistaken. And then they have another offensive. They have two starting offensive linemen out. Does Mahomes' skill in being able to extend plays and elude the rush with 2 weeks to take care of that turf toe, does that neutralize that somewhat? Can he buy some time and roll out? Because it seems when he rolls out and the threat to run it, that the receivers tend to find ways to get open there because he's going to have to be on the move, because we all saw the defensive line prowess of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against Green Bay. So I'm wondering if you think that neutralizes that. It's a significant loss when you have two offensive linemen out. But can Patrick Mahomes and his skill set somewhat offset that and not make it so devastating as it would be to a team, let's say, with an Aaron Rodgers or a Matt Stafford or somebody that's a pure drop back passer?
Yeah, I mean, so if there's any coach that can handle injuries, it's going to be Andy Reid. You know what I mean? It's either Andy Reid or Bill Belichick, and probably even Andy Reid more than Bill Belichick, because Andy Reid is both an offensive and a defensive mind, and Bill Belichick does not know offense, and that's becoming more and more apparent. So I will tell you this about Kansas City, though. The fact that this team, I think it's funny, like when you have more offensive weapons, what ends up happening is even if you don't have the offensive linemen, the offensive weapons make up for the offensive linemen, because you can have quick hitters, right? Quick slants, quick passes, quick screens, etc. So that's how you can, neutralize the fact that you can't, either protect a long time to get the ball out quicker, or if you can't run the ball like Alabama does. If you can't run the ball against somebody, do a lot of these quick hitter plays. It's kind of like a running play, but it's a quick passing play. So I think they'll know that, and I think they'll be able to use having an extra offensive player sometimes, and I learned this from Alabama's offense, is like having an extra offensive lineman, because they're able to disperse the ball to really talented people fast. So here you have Hill, you have Kelsey, you have Hardman, you have Edwards-Helaire. You just have so many different options, not to mention the fact that they might just draw up a bunch of running plays from Mahomes too, right?
Yeah.
So your left guard doesn't matter if it's a right sweep. You know what I mean? So
right.
in a normal football game, I don't know, let's just say that I think a team has like 12 drives or 10 drives, let's say, for example, and then they might get an average of 6 or 8 plays. I don't know. So 60 plays, you can draw up a pretty decent game plan. You know what I mean? So obviously having the extra offensive lineman makes the Chiefs so much more dangerous, because now you can extend the field, and the linebackers won't play far up, or the safeties won't play as far up. But these are all professional players at the end of the day. And Andy Reid finds some great value. Like Deuce Staley, remember him from the Eagles? He just goes out and finds studs. I mean, and they coach him up really well. And yeah, I will say this though, Tom Brady prepares better than anybody I have ever seen. So, and
Yep.
I'm not saying Mahomes is bad, but Mahomes has a coaching staff around him that helps him prepare. And I think Brady, especially having looked at the Chiefs once when they weren't even playing their best football, I could see the Bucks winning this game. Tony, they could legit win this game. So I'm going to take a shot on the total more than likely, but I can see the Bucks winning this game. This can go either way, especially if they had not played before. I think Kansas City can stun you, but they've already gotten a look at them, you know? So, and Tampa Bay's only gotten better since then. But having said that, I have never seen a team that comes back from ball games better than the Chiefs, ever.
Yeah, they're never that. And at the end of the day, I still think they have the best tight end, the best. And they have a three-headed monster running back, and don't discount Williams at running back. I mean, this guy went for over 100 yards last year to the Super Bowl, and without him, they wouldn't have won it. And he's a playmaker. He comes in and contributes. Hilaire is going to be twice better than he was in this game with 2 weeks, to continue to heal up. And you got Le'Veon Bell sitting around. It was
Yeah.
five
Yeah.
5 years ago, the best running back in the league. I mean, bar none. I mean, you got so many weapons there, and then you throw in the mix the jet sweeps and you throw in the mix that Sammy Watkins, one of the better two receivers in the NFL, didn't even play. Kansas City's got a lot of weapons coming at you, and on the other side of the ball, Tampa Bay is going to score. Kansas City's defense is not going to have the day against Tampa Bay that they did against an inexperienced quarterback where the moment was too big for him and a very young team. And the Buffalo Bills did not have Leonard Fournette at running back. That's what Tampa Bay brings to the table. And I think that's why this total has dropped below 57 is dumbfounding to me because they scored 51 the first time around. And trust me, they're going to leave no stone unturned offensively on both sides of the ball in this game, gunning to win this ball game. And that's why I think we're going to see both teams in the 30s. And I think we're going to see one hell of a Super Bowl. And honestly, I hate to say this for all my Kansas City friends there and my Chiefs Nation, but this side plays a coin flip right now. Like I agree with you. Either team can win this ball game, and you can make numerous arguments for both Kansas City and for Tampa Bay here. And
Tony,
it's difficult too to win back-to-back Super Bowls. Tom Brady's done it, but I mean, it's doubly difficult to do that. But I'd lean coaching staff. I'd probably lean Kansas City, but just barely. Bruce Arians is a good football coach. They have a good defensive coordinator. They've got good special teams coaches. Tampa Bay has put together something here that came together about mid-season, and a rolling stone gathers no moss, and that's kind of what they've done since about week 10, week 12. They had a couple setbacks. To do what they've done in the playoffs to beat two of the elite teams in the NFC, they had a lot harder road to get here than what Kansas City did. Now, whether that's wear and tear on them, I don't know, Arun. We'll see, in 2 weeks. But, like you said, I think the over doesn't play.
Yeah, I will. One thing I'll tell you, even though I think that the Tampa Bay Bucks win at Green Bay was more impressive, I think the Chiefs have had a more impressive playoff run because they beat a good Browns team. Look, I think a Saints team with Drew Brees sucks. Okay, it's a disservice. Like I think Drew Brees can't throw the ball 20 yards down the field, so I don't really consider that win incredibly impressive for the Bucks. And winning at Green Bay, I mean, it's still a nice win, but at the end of the day, Green Bay lost to the Vikings. Okay, they had some holes on that team. They had situations where they just did not do well. And Kansas City, when they want to play great defense, they can. Now, is beating a older Drew Brees Saints team or a Green Bay team that just lays an egg, especially on the defensive front? Green Bay's defensive front sucks. So is that impressive? Or is Kansas City beating a balling Browns team who rolled in destroying the Steelers and beating a red-hot Buffalo Bills team with an athletic quarterback? Tampa Bay beat a Green Bay quarterback that's not athletic. Aaron Rodgers is not meaning running the ball like Josh Allen can. I think Kansas City just had the gauntlet thrown at them. They beat a really good Browns team, and they beat a really good Bills team. So when you look at it from that perspective, Tampa Bay could get exposed too. They
Yep.
could get exposed in this game too.
Well, you know what? They were the recipient of a bunch of turnovers in the New Orleans game. And Drew Brees is not built to play from behind because of his arm strength anymore. And that's not a knock on Drew Brees. Drew Brees he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, unanimous vote. He's done it all. He won a Super Bowl. Every record there is known mankind in the NFL. Brady and there's no slouch. But what surprised me most about the Green Bay game and how they really pretty much it never got out of hand on Tampa Bay at all. Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions that didn't even face him because Green Bay couldn't do jack up with them once they got him. 2 3-and-out quarter with 2 picks. You do that against Kansas City, let me tell you something. You're going to be down 14. I'll tell you that right now. And that's not if he does that. And just one other point I want to bring up and then get your reaction to it. Tom Brady does not do well under pressure at this point in his career. That's one thing where his age shows. He threw it up last week under pressure for grabs. You do that against Kansas City. Kansas City's got a bunch of guys, got a honey badger running around. And Sorensen, playing, center field out there at safety. If Kansas City is Spagnola's got a brain in his head, and I know that he does, if his whole goal is going to be trying to put pressure on Tom Brady, because that's when he doesn't perform as well right here, right now, as he did 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, no, I think that what's cool about having so many weapons like the Chiefs do, they're all hungry for the ball. So when they get an opportunity, they all want to do well. You might only get 3 touches. So you better make the most of your 3 or 4 touches. So these guys, when you're giving the ball to Fournette, 20 times, he thinks getting 3 to 4 yards is sufficient, like he's doing his job, which is still good. But if you're like Hill and Hilaire Edward and Hardiman and Sammy Watkins, when you only get 3 or 4 plays drawn up for you, you're like, screw this 2 to 3 yards. I'm trying to get 7 to 10 to bust this out. Every guy is trying to bust out a big play. So when you point out the Chiefs making the most of every opportunity, every guy wants to score because they only get so many opportunities, And I know you can say that about Tampa Bay too, but Kansas City, I think Kansas City's coaching staff is actually better than Tampa Bay's coaching staff. Bruce Arians is a great coach, but he's a good old boy at the end of the day. And I don't know how detail-oriented he's going to be. And Todd Bowles is a decent coach, but Todd Bowles has some holes too. And then you give me Reed, Spagnuolo, and Bieniemy over Arians, Bowles, and Byron Leftwich.
Right.
Give me the Kansas City trio over the Arizona or over the Tampa Bay trio any day.
Right. And by the way, Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady, been there, done it, bought the entire T-shirt factory, probably owns 99% of the stock in the T-shirt factory with 6 Super Bowl rings. But a lot of these guys on Tampa Bay have never been to a Super Bowl before. And Kansas City's entire team basically intact from last year, minus a few guys. 3 AFC championship games. One of them they lost to Tom Brady on a very controversial call back in 2018. I won't go there, but at the end of the day, folks, every Super Bowl we have a free link up there above us here. Go click the link description below, get a free $60. Get over to DocSports.com. I want everybody to know that it's side and total in this business. People aren't going to reach out to me for side and total on this, but you are going to want to reach out to us for Super Bowl prop bets. And that's what our show is going to be next week. But I will guarantee you that virtually every handicapper over at DocSports.com, and I speak for myself, and I know I'm speaking for Arun when I say the side and total are a very small part of our Super Bowl card. It's the prop bets, and that's where you make the money. We're going to break those down and talk about them on next week's Super Bowl show. And In the interim, I wanted everybody to know that every Super Bowl card at DocSports.com from every handicapper will be $25. And those will be out next Thursday. And I don't know what that date is, but it's next Thursday. We're taping this on Wednesday the 20th, so be sure to be looking for those. So side play, I'm still doing some arithmetic on, but Arun, I'm going to be on record. I'm just going to give away a premium play because I'll put it on the card for those people that aren't smart enough to tune into our show every week. I do like the over in this game. I think it's going to be a shootout.
And I'll join you, and I will my premium 7 unit is going to be on the total, but for the side, I like the Kansas City Chiefs. That's going to be probably that's going to be a 3-unit play. It's going to be on the Chiefs, and it's for what I mentioned. I think beating the Bills and the Browns is more impressive than beating the Saints and the Packers for the reason we talked about. And I'll be happy to, and I'm definitely giving at least 1 or 2 props on our video next week. That'll be fun.
Yeah, well, we're going to do a prop bet, and we're just going to talk about them and have some fun, kind of a season-ending show, so to speak. We still haven't named the show, but I am going to stick this on my personal Facebook page because I lived in Kansas City 13 years and got a lot of friends out there. Matter of fact, I'm going to give all my shout-out to all my buddies at the Landing in Liberty, my favorite watering hole up there. You're all going to be up there raising hell, watching the Chiefs. I'm going to be missing you on Super Bowl Sunday next week, but I'll be there in spirit. But you just ingratiated yourself to all my friends back in Kansas City now, Arun, for giving a little love the Chiefs way. So I'm sure they appreciate that.
And Tony, it comes down to that coaching staff tripod. People are going to look back, and that tripod is going to be one of the most epic tripods of Reed, Spagnuolo, head coach, and Bieniemy, who should be a head coach. Byron Leftwich is young. Todd Bowles is a failed head coach. And Bruce Arians was a failed head coach prior to Tom Brady. So, and that Chiefs, I'm telling you, man, Andy Reid is brilliant. He comes up with plays that people like. He's just a walking drawing board of plays, and they've got plays to come back big on. And at the end of the day, Mahomes can extend plays. It's actually, wouldn't you take the Chiefs -5.5 if you could? I'd still take the Chiefs -5.5.
I think the Chiefs are a touchdown better. I do. I think they're a touchdown better. I think Tom Brady factors in somewhat, but there's so many other. That's all you're hearing. Tom Brady this. Tom Brady's there at 43. Tom Brady all week long. About this accomplishment, and it is a hell of an accomplishment to be able to do this. I mean, Brett Favre tried it, almost got there. Drew Brees tried, almost got there. Brett Favre, and at the end of the day, Drew Brees, 43 years old, he did get there. But at the end of the day, and he is the greatest of all time, whether you want to admit it or not. But right here, right now, I'll take Mahomes and all his weapons versus Tom Brady, his experience and his weapons. I would lean Kansas City here. I think Kansas City get it done by a touchdown. And bear in mind, again, Kansas City's defense, both against Cleveland, shut down the run and completely dismantled Buffalo offensively, especially in the red zone. They bend, but they don't break. And I think that's going to be the difference in the ball game. I thought it was a difference last year in their playoff games. I thought it was a difference last year in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. That defense that bends but doesn't break, and they stiffen up in the red zone. And
Tony, I think Tampa Bay's running game sucks, just like Buffalo's running game. So I agree with you. I think they're gonna put so many guys back there and less guys up front. Fournette's just gonna keep getting 3 or 4 yards or whatever it is. And I don't think Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay struggled to run the ball against Green Bay's front, good luck against Kansas City.
Well, what you guys all in Kansas City need to do, by the way, since we're giving all this love to my beloved Chiefs, somebody back there has got to organize something, get some of that Kansas City barbecue shipped out to me and Arun for a little pregame barbecue time before we hit the watering holes to watch the ball game for all the love. Hey, listen, NBA basketball, NHL, soccer, golf now, you name it, we got it. DocSports.com. Come over and visit both of us. For Arun, Shiva, I'm Tony George. Thanks for tuning in. Back at you next week, next Wednesday again, with the Super Bowl prop preview show. Be sure to come back and visit us then.